Welcome to the Bald Truth Leadership Podcast, where you get straightforward, no-nonsense ideas on leadership and growth, both personally and professionally. It's brought to you by the Chief Coaching Officer of the Peak Performance Group. He's also a brilliant and successful serial entrepreneur. He's a two-time author. He's a certified executive coach. He's a sales genius. He's bald.
Hey now.
And he's your host of the Bald Truth Leadership Podcast. Buckle your chin strap. Here's your host, Coach Rick Colster.
Hey, welcome to the Bald Truth Leadership Podcast. I'm Coach Rick, your host. Remember, folks, like and subscribe. We're available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, and YouTube video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you'll get every single episode of The Bald Truth. You want to be there. It's going to be hot, especially today. Welcome, and thank you, everybody, for being here today. Today, The Bald Truth, well, every day The Bald Truth is about leadership. And today, we're going to tackle trust. How about that? Trust has become an issue in so many levels these days, right? Can you trust your leaders? Can you trust the people to do what they say? Can you trust what you read? Oh yeah, today and in the news. How about that? Can you trust the media? Now that's a big one right there. Well, today, folks, our guest is an expert in building trust in organizations. In fact, she has a new book that's rising fast on the bestseller list. You got to get it. Check it out on Amazon, and I'll let her tell a little bit more about it. It's called Magnetic Trust: How Great Leaders Keep Top Performers and Get Extraordinary Results. She's one of the smartest people I know, a dear friend. And she's got an undergrad and a graduate and her PhD in social psychology. So she knows how the mind works, folks. Be careful. Don't you try to, put that mind tricks on me today. But she knows how to change that mindset. She is an active speaker, an author, an adjunct professor, and is an expert on achievement, motivation, and building employee trust. Dr. Williamson is an active with the Executive Women International and the founder and leader of the Transformation Group. Let's welcome to the Bald Truth, my dear friend, one of my favorite people in the world, Dr. Heather Williamson. Heather, welcome. Or do I call you doctor? Which one is it?
You can call me whatever you want, Rick.
Oh my goodness gracious, the set just heated up a little bit. I don't know. So, all right, well, let's forego that for the moment. Let's talk about trust. So I'm going to dive right in here, right? So tell us a little bit, what was it that got you excited and interested in psychology? I mean, I love it as well, but what was it that really was about, said, hey, man, I want to learn all about psychology? What drove you? What was that all about?
Well, besides being the one class I did really well in college,
Yeah,
other than that, that class clicked. But I was working for a large organization, and we got the opportunity, I was in sales, got the opportunity to go out on two Outward Bound programs. And if you're familiar with Outward Bound, part of that is the climbing poles and jumping off and doing rope courses.
Don't they throw you off a cliff or something?
Yeah. You get the trust falls. Well, I didn't like any of that. I did it, but I didn't like any of it. But the part that I loved was the piece where they brought in an industrial organizational psychologist to facilitate more of that small group work on how to, build teams, how to communicate more effectively, how to be better at leadership. That part I loved. And so that triggered me to say, now I know what I want to do when I grow up. I had a purpose. So that's how I kind of got into the passion for leadership and psychology.
Isn't that cool when you find your purpose? And that's something that I think we talk about a lot, but I don't know that a lot of people really understand how to find their purpose. I mean, we talked about it today in my men's group, and it came up. Knowing your purpose. We had a conversation about what did you want to be when you grow up? When you grew up, when you were 5, 6, 7, what did you want to be? And we had a roundtable discussion on that. And then, are you where you thought you would be today? So bring it forward. But purpose, I think, was one of the things that resonated throughout that, is knowing your purpose. So what's a good way to somebody can really dig in and find their purpose, maybe?
I don't know. I mean, for me, I found what came easy for me. And so then I just kind of took it a step further. Obviously, I came from a corporate background, and that experience, I had great bosses, and I had some ones that literally, excuse me, just sucked. And
Sell it like it is.
I know. And it was actually that experience, the ones that really were horrible bosses, that gave me my purpose, because I was like, nobody should have to work for somebody like that and have that experience, because it is so demotivating, and you don't really want to put a lot of effort, and eventually you're going to leave the boss. You're going to leave the company because you can't stand working for the boss any longer. And
Okay.
that's what gave me my purpose, because I was like, nobody should have to deal with a jerk boss.
Excellent. So what's a good boss look like? There, let's jump right in. What's a good boss look like, and why is it important to have employees to trust their bosses, since you're the trust expert?
Yeah, so a good boss is one who actually is a great communicator, so all the employees know exactly
Okay.
what, the expectations are there of them, either from a workload or just their own, professional development. Also, a good boss is one that's going to be supportive. They're not going to talk behind your back. They're not going to put you in situations where you're going to fail. They are not going to play favorites with you. And I mean, trust is really important, because, in any relationship, trust is a huge factor, right? If you
Oh,
don't trust
absolutely.
your spouse, or you don't trust your friends, then you're not going to really work on building that relationship if it's
Hmm.
really, really bad. And trust is something that is obviously, it's something that doesn't happen overnight. It's actually you comes over time. And the benefits of trust is, if you've got employees that trust you, I mean, there's data out there. I mean, you're going to have increased efficiency. You're going to have, when you have increased efficiency, your costs come down. You've even got an 18% higher customer retention rate. You've got happy employees, so turnover is low. There's,
18%, that's pretty high.
I
That's
know,
higher. If I can increase my customer satisfaction 18%, that'd be pretty good.
exactly, exactly. So there are
So
huge benefits.
as you think about this and you do it, it's building that trust in an organization, right?
Mhm.
What are some of the behaviors that could cause distrust? You said trust is important to have. What are some
Yeah.
behaviors that could cause distrust?
So distrust. So think about experiences that you may have had with a boss that you didn't like, and you start thinking about the reasons why. And it
Okay.
could be them failing to keep promises or commitments that they had made,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's, hey, I'm going to give you this project, and then they don't.
Sure.
It could be micromanaging. They just are not comfortable with
That's always
delegating,
one.
because they don't trust you. So then you're like, okay, well, I can't trust you to help me grow as a worker. It can also be when you're inconsistent by what you say and what you do. So there's
Okay.
inconsistencies there. And then if you've got bosses who are only going to, or let's just say are selective in sharing information, they're not giving you the whole story. So you don't
Okay.
really have a great
Yeah, I've had
idea
that
of
in the
what,
past. And some of my old bosses, I've had that. They just give you a snippet enough to get you worked up.
yeah,
Okay.
and or don't, yeah, exactly. Or the ones that don't tell the truth.
Yeah. That's
And one of my favorites, because it has happened to me, is that they play favorites when they are have employees. So obviously you're going to have, a favorite employee, because that employee is a favorite. Either it's because of they're a friend or they're hard workers, but you can't play favorites when it comes to handing out, whether it's raises or promotions, things like that, or awarding projects. It's I think it should be based on merit. And then
Oh,
I remember I had a
absolutely.
client that had a boss who blamed others for mistakes, and not taking ownership of their own of the mistakes. The buck stops with the boss, right?
Sure. It should.
Yeah. And then I had a client that their boss actually downplayed her talents and to make himself look better.
I've seen that. I think we've all seen that, folks. I know that you've probably experienced that, where the boss taking all the credit and placing all
Yeah.
the blame.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard. I hear about that a lot in my practice as well. So
Yeah.
as you do that, what can they do? How can your leader build that trust? I mean, what are some of the tactics, actions, behaviors that, our listeners who are leaders in their own industry, but that they can use, and guys, write this stuff down, by the way, write this
Yes.
down,
Write it all
because
down.
she's giving you some meat here, folks. This is tactical, practical things. So what can they do to create trust with their employees? What are, the top 10 points? I don't know, 5, 10, whatever. 10's a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
10's a lot. Well, I have 8 rules to building trust. And this
Okay.
actually
Meet in the middle.
is on the foundation of just some literature out there and my dissertation. So I've studied this because it's so important to me. And the first rule is to be authentic. You cannot be fake and expect people to trust you. So you have got to make yourself and allow yourself to be vulnerable. And if you don't know something, then say you don't know it.
Okay.
You've got to allow yourself to let people in and share who you are. And that is even when it comes to being open to feedback.
Okay.
And a lot of people in leadership, they like to give feedback, but they don't want to accept it.
Yeah, that's true.
Or not open to that opportunity. And I look at it as an opportunity. And so, let people see that you're human and own your mistakes. And then the second rule is to be predictable. So when you're predictable, people know how you're going to respond, right?
Yep, exactly.
And they can trust that. So I remember when I was working in a company, and the executive vice president of HR, he's like, Heather, this is my rule. And that is that every day when you walk through that door, it is 80 degrees and sunny. And I have never forgotten that, because that is a mindset that you can actually, visualize. Because how do you feel when it's 80 degrees and sunny?
Yeah, I want a margarita and be on the beach is what I want to feel.
Exactly. And people are going to be able to approach you because you're going to be in a good place. You're going to have a smile on your face.
Sure.
You're going to be welcoming. And predictability even comes with, the processes that you have in place, the policies, be consistent and predictable with those as well. So it's handling people fairly and consistently. And then rule 3 is to be transparent. So when it comes to transparency, I think have you ever taken a spin class?
Once. It didn't like it very much.
I know. Once was enough for me.
Get up, get down. Like, no, I want to sit here for a while.
I know. And then it's not comfortable either.
I don't know how these people do this Peloton thing all the time. What the hell? Like, get up, get down, ride. Oh, Mary Jane said I should ride harder. I'm like, no, I just want to ride my bike through the park.
Exactly. Just a casual one. But so I kind of look at transparency as spin. Some people are afraid to share what's really going on. So they'll, inflate the positive, downplay the negative. Okay. And so your people really need to know what's going on in the company. They need to know what the expectations are of them. And it's just really important. And even what challenges exist for the company. I mean, let people know, hey, we're not meeting our third quarter goals. And these are some reasons why that we have found out. Here are some trends. So it's, being transparent. And then rule 4 is to be ethical. So there have been plenty of examples of unethical behavior in lots of organizations, and even in my town of Richmond, Virginia. So, when you're ethical, just keep in mind that there are lots of eyes. As a leader, there are lots of eyes on you, right? You've got all your employees, coworkers, and even customers. Think about customers as well. But being ethical, you've got to remember that people are watching what you say and what you do. And so it's choices that you make. So it's, doing the right thing when no one is looking. it's, kind of like do unto others as you would have do unto you. It's
Sure.
kind of keeping, in that in place. And then communicate. Rule 5 is communicate, communicate, communicate. And I have that 3 times because, as you know, communication I have found is like one of the number one challenges in organizations.
All the time. Boy, that's
I
like
know.
huge with clients. Yeah.
It really is. And so when it comes to, communication, it's all right, how do I make sure that everybody's on the same page? So I'm a big proponent of, as you are as well, is having weekly meetings with your team and being clear on, all right, this is what we're going to be focusing on on agendas, and and having them share their successes, because you got to have wins, and then
Wins. Yep.
and then what challenges exist. So and then when it comes to communication as well, it's all right, how do you make sure that you're open and you're given the why behind the request that you're making and the expectations that you give. So being clear on all that. And then rule 6 is own it, don't blame it. What we were talking about a few minutes ago.
Sure.
And that's own. Even I remember I had a friend who was hired for this organization, and the previous boss was horrible. And there was lots of issues when he walked in. But he didn't blame that previous boss. He actually said, you know what? This is where we are. I'm taking responsibility, and this is where we want to be. And so he owned it, and he didn't place any blame on anybody, but he made sure that he knew what was going on in the company and let everybody know that, hey, the buck stops with me. And if you have any issues, come to me and we will talk about it and get it straight. And
so I think that when you own it like that, you accept that responsibility. And we've talked about this in the past. That's where you gain the ability to influence people around you. And a good leader wants to be an influencer.
exactly.
Not like an Instagram influencer, but be able to influence their people and their teams.
Mm-hmm. So you're taking responsibility. You're apologizing when things don't go the right way, right?
Yeah.
And you're leading by example.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Rule 7 is exhibit competence. So if you're going to be the boss and you want people to trust you, you've got to communicate in a way that you know what the heck is going on. So you got to show competence.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so competence is knowing what's going on in your industry, know what the trends are, knowing what's happening in your own business. And it also comes back to, how you act, how you negotiate. We were talking about that a few minutes ago. You're showing that you do have those skill sets and that you can make informed decisions based on the information that is out there. And that you are, I remember one of the companies that I worked for, that I've worked with their executive team, the CEO every quarter would have I forget what he called it, but he would go out to his team and have, and meet with everybody. It's like a big open, that's not a house, something house. Anyway, he would actually have a huge meeting with the whole company, whether he rented,
Like a town
big
hall
ball.
kind of thing?
Huh?
Like a town hall kind of thing?
Yes. Thank you very much for helping me with that. Town hall. Yes.
I'm the host. That's what I do.
So he would have a town hall where he would share, what's going on in the company. So everybody got the same information and they knew that he was on top of stuff. So he was showing his competence.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then the last one, rule 8, is don't play favorites. Because believe it or not, I have been there. And this is like one of my favorites because believe it or not, I had a boss where I was not his favorite. I don't know why.
How could that be? What the
I
hell?
know. Because I am a hard worker. I'm an overachiever. But I was not his favorite. And so, the obvious ones are when you think about examples of playing favorites is when you give somebody who doesn't deserve it promotions or raises, right? Those are the obvious ones.
And that's hard. I've had that happen in the past. Is all of a sudden I thought I was excuse the pun, the golden-haired child. Mm-hmm. And for those listening, you know why we call this the bald truth, right? Yeah, that's right. Um, but yeah, I thought I was a fair-haired kid, and I was the next one in line, and all of a sudden they bring an outsider in or promote somebody else from another department or division, and all of a sudden I'm like,
Hmm.
wow, this was my job. I've been working my tail off for this, and I earned that, and it was
Hmm.
because I had fallen out of favor.
Yes.
I later
For
found out, of
whatever
course.
reason, for whatever reason that probably was not justified, but it
Hmm.
was the own boss's insecurities over something.
Oh
So,
yeah,
but
absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
I've had that. That's the reason I started the Peak Performance Group was
Hmm.
the insecurities of who I was working for at the time, and I went from, as I say, the fair-haired kid to I couldn't do anything right in the course of 18 months. I was like, what the hell just happened here? I've been doing the same job. It was all personality based,
Yeah.
and I mean, we didn't trust him as a leader. We knew that because he would do all those things that you just said you should do. He didn't do, or he did the opposite.
Right. Right.
So that's
Yeah.
that's really cool. So that lends me to think about this. When we're all human, right? We're all going to screw up. We're all going to make mistakes, and we have to accept that. But when you break a trust, when you violate that trust, I guess is another word, is and it's really something that's hard to build trust because people are naturally, I think, in today's society, are naturally distrusting or waiting to see, okay, when's the other shoe going to fall or when's this guy going to try to take advantage of me, guy or gal, and I
Hmm.
use the term colloquially. Yeah, that's my big word
Hmm.
for the day. I use that in a a broad sense of people is everyone's waiting for that shoe to drop. When's that person going to take advantage of me? Um, and it's so easy to lose trust. Once you've built it, it's one of those. We use the phrase. You have attaboys and all
Yeah.
shits, right?
Yeah.
And my father used to tell me it only takes one all shit to wipe out 1,000 attaboys. So you get attaboy, attaboy,
It
attaboy. You do
does.
one thing screwy, you mess up, and again, we're all human. All of a sudden, wiped
Hmm.
out all that good that you've done up to that point, and you kind of have to start over. How could someone rebuild trust if they lost it with their team or their company or their employees? Is it even possible?
I think it's possible, but it's something that you have to work on every single day. It's
Okay.
not something that is you try to work on right before you're wanting something from your employee.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that has to be, as we have talked before, a habit. So this is a daily habit that I have got to work on every single day. And even if you had that distrusting experience with an employee, this
Mm-hmm.
is when authenticity comes into play. And that is, you know what? I screwed up. I did XYZ, and I realize now that it ended up hurting you and in whatever way it was, and say, you know what, I'm really going to work on that. And I want you to call me out if you see me doing this again.
That's ownership. That's like total ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're being authentic and you're owning it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's so. There's some good tips. And folks, now Heather, do you have these 8 rules somewhere where someone wants to get them and learn them? Do you have them somewhere where
Yes,
they can find them? Where is it?
I do. So the book, Magnetic Trust, How Great Leaders Keep Top Performers and Get Extraordinary Results, is on Amazon if you want to get the book. You can also get through it from my website, which is transformationgroupllc.com. And I also have an online training program on the
Oh,
website
very
as
good.
well, if anybody's interested. Yeah. So there are ways. And the cool thing about this book, and I have to say, I am very much an applied person. You know me. I
Yeah.
want to know how I can do something. If it's all theory, I get really bored because I'm very applied. So in this book, I actually had interviews for each of these 8 rules from different executives from different industries, which I
Oh,
thought
how
would be
cool.
really valuable for people as well. So your industry may even be in here.
Okay, so they can find you at transformationgroupllc.com. And if they
Yep.
want to do your training program, online training, um, is there, they go through transformationgroupllc.com to get there?
Correct.
Just check your
Yeah, you can
website and do it,
access it through that.
or get your book
Get my book. And then
on
I also,
Amazon.
yeah, on Amazon. Hmm. And then
Excellent.
I also share leadership tips twice a week on my YouTube channel.
Oh, excellent. What's the title of a YouTube channel? Folks, if you want to listen up, go see it, Dr. Heather. But make sure you subscribe to The Bald Truth.
Exactly. Bald Truth is a podcast. I do not have a podcast.
Okay, good.
Yes. No, it's actually under Dr. Heather Williamson is where you can find the
Okay.
YouTube channel.
So
Yeah.
really simple, just like it sounds. There's no different spelling of Heather or Williamson.
No,
It's just how it sounds.
very
That's some
simple.
old school stuff, right? Yeah. Not this new age stuff. So we talked about characteristics of a trustworthy leader. We talked about how they can build trust back. But here's the question. Peak performance. Can you have it without trust? See what I did there?
I know. I don't think so. I think you've got to be able to, if you are working for somebody else. I mean, you could probably have peak performance if it's something like that you're doing on your own, like cycling or working out, because you're trusting in yourself to make that
Sure.
commitment to get it done. But I think if you are a peak performer,
Hmm.
you have goals, and you are typically, especially if you're in a leadership role or a manager or a supervisor, you're exhibiting those peak performance behaviors because you want to move up in the world, right? In the company or even at the executive level. And even if you are an executive, you are still trusting in your team to get the job done. So
Sure.
I think trust is still going to be very relevant.
Okay, so that's it. So this is awesome. So trust, trust, trust. They can find you at transformationgroupllc.com. If they want to know more about what you do, get your book on Amazon. I can't wait. I'm going to get my copy. I'm getting out there. It's called Magnetic Trust: How Great Leaders Keep Top Performers and Get Extraordinary Results. So for the leaders that are out there listening, this is it. How do you build magnetic trust? And then top performers get results. And that's not what we're all looking for anyway, right?
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
And I love that you're an application type personality, where let's just get stuff done. Because my thing is roll up your sleeves and get to work. There's no
Mhm.
holds barred here. It's just, come on, you're not working, you ain't getting it done. It's about action, action, action. So, folks, by the way, you can get my book, Roll Up Your Sleeves and Get to Work, as well, up on Amazon as well. So, all right. So, Heather, I've got some things here for you. I always like to know, you're an expert. You're an expert in the area of trust and psychology, and you can speak on that all day long because that's what you practice, what you do. But I really like to get to know the folks that are on the Bald Truth. I want to know who you are inside. And this digs deep. So I've got 3 questions that I'd like to ask you, if that's okay.
Okay. I'm
Well, good.
ready.
I'm glad you said yes, because I was going to ask him anyway. So here's the deal. So I call these the Bald Truth question because it digs down to the core who you are.
Mhm.
Let's say you're holding a dinner party for 6, yourself included, so you get to invite 5 people. Those 5 people could be anybody in all of history, all of time, anyone who ever born. They can be dead, alive, anyone of all of history. Who do you invite to this dinner party? Just this one, this dinner party, and why do you invite them?
So I would say, because I am a psychologist and I have been to London and I have been to Sigmund Freud's house and I saw his couch, which was
saw
roped
his
off.
couch.
I saw his couch. I would love to invite him to the dinner party to really figure out how in the world he came up with his theories. So,
Okay, those
yeah.
Freudian slips, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
And we all have. All right, who's
All
second?
right. The second person actually is he's not my delegate, but he was running for the House for the U.S. government House of Delegates, and his name is Delegate Nick Freitas. He's for the state of Virginia right now, but I love the way that he speaks. And I cannot remember the philosophy of what he studied, but he is very much a listener, and he consistently asks questions. You never see him riled. He is very calm at all times.
Okay,
And I'm just like, how do you do that? And I'd love to learn more from you.
excellent. Who else?
This might be a little controversial, I'm sorry, but
That's what
Donald
we're
Trump.
about. We don't care.
Donald Trump. I would love to sit. and have dinner with Donald Trump.
All right, cool.
I know. And it's because I'm a very strong believer in America first. And I would just love to get his thoughts on how to make that happen.
Okay, good.
And I'm just going blank on my other ones. I apologize, but those three come to mind.
Okay.
I might have some empty seats.
You're going to have three, and then you have a couple empty seats there. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I think that'd be a great mix. Think about that mix that would be at that party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be fun. All right. Articles being written about you after you're gone, about your life. And they're writing an article about Dr. Heather Williamson. What do they write? What's the title? Not what's in it, but how do they headline? What's the headline? Because, the headline captures the essence of what's supposed to be in there. What's your headline?
My headline. Okay, now you're trying to be marketing expert here to grab you. Headline. I think the headline would be something to the effect of family-oriented, focused on building trust within the community and always there when needed.
Okay, good. Fine, good title. So now, every morning, we all have our own habits. You mentioned habits as we were talking. So we all have habits. What do you do every morning to set yourself up for success, for a successful day?
So I don't know if you've ever seen this, but there's I guess I call him a preacher, but his name is Dutch Sheets. And he actually has a YouTube channel where he does he calls it Give Him 15. So it's usually no more than 15 minutes every morning, where he talks about, it doesn't always have to be, it could be political, it could be what's going on, in his church, but whatever it is, he always ties it back to the Bible in some way. Okay. And I have really enjoyed listening to him every morning because it does kind of get my mindset straight.
Okay, excellent. Another good one, I'll tell you, if you haven't read the book, is Two Chairs by Bob Bodine.
Oh, I have not.
He's been on the show. So I'm giving Bob, if you're listening out there, I'm giving you a shout out, my friend. Wrote a great book called Two Chairs. I mean, spend some time, sit out there and have two chairs, one for you, one for Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Great concept. And you'll love the book. I highly recommend it. So with that, I'll tell you what, great answers, great show. And folks, I'm excited to have my friend Heather in here. How can they get a hold of you? How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, you've mentioned the website. So transformationgroup.llc.com. You can even email me directly, which is drheather@transformationgroup.llc.com. And the YouTube channel, which is Dr. Heather Williamson. So those are and I'm on LinkedIn as well. So,
all right, check her out.
Dr.
Folks,
Heather,
connect with Heather on LinkedIn. Check out her YouTube channel. Send her an email. Say you heard her on The Bald Truth and you want to know more. You want those 8 qualities. She'll make sure you get them. And if you really want them to keep them, buy the book. So thanks for spending some time with us today. I appreciate it. I know you're busy. You got a lot of stuff going. You got a really powerful practice going out there. And because she's talked to me, we had our pre-show talk. She's working with some pretty big companies, folks. So when you want to know about transformation, you want to know about psychology, and you want to know more about building a team and being a trustful leader, Dr. Heather is the one to check out. So you know how to get a hold of her. Look down below on YouTube. I'll put some scrolling down. We'll have some scrolling down there. You'll see down below how to get a hold of her. And just thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Rick, for allowing me to be one of your guests on the Bald Truth podcast.
It's my pleasure, my pleasure. Folks, I'm Coach Rick, and that's The Bald Truth.
You've been listening to The Bald Truth with Coach Rick of the Peak Performance Group, the company that helps people and organizations reach their potential. If you're looking for a way to grow your organization, whether it's sales or strategic direction, the Peak Performance Group coaches can help you grow with their proven business acceleration process. Call them at 817-748-7425 or go to mypotentialplus.com and they'll connect you with the right coach for you. And remember to subscribe and like below. The Bold Truth Leadership Podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, and YouTube video. Hit like and subscribe to get every episode. Thanks for listening to the Bold Truth Leadership Podcast. And until next time, roll up your sleeves and get to work, and you can make things happen.
I'm Coach Rick, and that's the Bold Truth.